Ready? Good afternoon, Commissioners. If we will come to order, we will begin the monthly Anderson County Commission Budget Committee meeting. Robbie, if you would call the roll, please.
Commissioner Mays. Here. Commissioner Palmer.
Here.
Commissioner Vandegrift.
She's on her way.
Okay, Commissioner Val.
Here.
Commissioner White. Commissioner Allen.
Here.
Commissioner Beauchamp. And Commissioner Smallridge.
Here. Let the record reflect we do have a quorum. I would like to ask Commissioner Allen, if he would, to lead us in the pledge, and I'll lead us in the prayer. Or the prayer first, I'm sorry. Prayer first and then the pledge, Commissioner, I'm sorry. Got out of order. Heavenly Father, once again we come to you to give you honor and praise, to thank you, Father, for being so good to us, for saving our souls, for adding unto us daily. Lord, for everything that you do, we give you honor and praise for that today. Please forgive us of our sins, times when we fail you, times when we don't acknowledge you for what we have. Father, we give you praise for the privilege we have today to represent, to serve the people of this county. We ask, Lord, that you be with us during the deliberations of this meeting. Give us wisdom, give us discernment to do what's right in your eyes. All this we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Attention. Salute. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioners. First item on the agenda is our appearance of citizens. Do we have any citizens in the audience today wishing to address the Budget Committee? Seeing none, we have the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Palmer to approve the agenda, second by Commissioner Smallridge. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I have one question, just a clarification on with budget, with it being statutory, it's still going to take 5 votes to pass everything, correct?
That is correct.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Hopefully Commissioner Vandegrift will be here for too long.
Yeah.
Any more discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carried. Next item on the agenda, purchasing contracts with legal review. Director Holbrook.
Okay, there are 3 of those with legal review. Actually, now we have all 5 with legal review. 2 are grant contracts, a Canon EMA contract, a Domino's Pizza contract, and a HIS security for the Office of Aging.
Do we have a motion to approve the contract?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Smallridge makes a motion to approve all the contracts,
Yes.
seconded by Commissioner Allen. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
Okay. And there are 4 surplus vehicles, 3 from Fleet Services. I actually put all of them for Fleet Services, but the 4th one, the Chevy Silverado, is a sheriff's. I'll have that corrected for County Commission. Is a sheriff's vehicle.
Motion to approve with the change.
Motion by Commissioner Mays to approve the selling of the surplus vehicles. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Allen. Any discussion? Hearing none.
Just real quick, do you know what the status is of some of that money that we gave John? Has he been able to make any purchases or?
Yes, he quickly bid those out and got the purchase orders.
I
Thank
think
you.
we've committed all the funds.
All right, good deal. Thank you.
I don't think. I know we have, because it would be too late if we hadn't.
I would say it's bad day.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carried. Next item is the cash and fund balance report. Director Holbrook.
Okay, cash and fund balance. ending December 31st, 2024. General fund restricted funds are at 2.2 million. The committed funds are 518,537. Assigned funds are 4.5 million. Unassigned fund balance 11.6 million. Total fund balance 19,029,176. Cash 20,138,171, which is up 5.2 million from last year at this time. The general purpose school 141 fund committed or total fund balance 10.6 million, cash 15,855,779. I was going to say this, the reason for the cash increase, I was explaining this to Shane earlier when we were going over the budget agenda. Last year, if y'all remember, a lot of people have their property taxes paid on their mortgage payment, and the mortgage payments didn't go into the trustee's office. Usually they are paid to the trustee in December. Last year it was January. So cash was lower. If you look at the cash the last 5 years, 23-24 was lower, and 22-23. That's because of that payment from the mortgage companies. So this year it came in December like it's supposed to, so that's what also made the cash so much more than last year's cash. So January last year was a lot higher because of that payment. So we're kind of just back to normal this year, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say with that, with the 5.2 million.
Also let the record reflect Commissioner Vandergriff is present. Any questions on the cash and fund balance report? Hearing none, we'll move on. Go ahead, Robin.
Okay. The sales tax report, the county portion 3.4% up from last year in November. Anderson County as a whole was 3.4% up. The Anderson County portion, 506,343, was down around 65,000 from last November. So, but still, we're having good numbers. Each month so far this year, since the fiscal year started, we have been up 3.5% or more every month almost. So.
Any questions on the option sales tax report? Hearing none, moving on.
Okay, the ARPA projects report. We have spent all the ARPA funds that we needed to spend in the revenue loss and other eligibilities. Total interest remaining is 171,171. And I will say that with the employee payments that we made before Christmas, very thankful, all the employees. And that went really well, I thought, and they were very appreciative.
Any questions on the ARP projects report?
So, Robbie, so are we saying we're ahead? We have another amount of 171,000?
That's all interest, so we don't really have to commit that to anything. That can even be moved into another fund, like general fund or 171, the capital projects fund. I mean, or we can let it sit there and you all can commit it to other projects if you want. So,
How would that
Thank you.
usually handle?
I'm sorry,
How would
Commissioner?
that usually handle when we have that surplus of the interest?
we don't normally have. Typically, well, we do have interest from our bank accounts that we earn, and it's a June 30th entry that I make
Yeah.
based on cash at the end of June. We put it in each fund, but this is ARPA projects. It was the 121 money interest for that because we had to keep that in a separate bank account. So this is interest only for those funds.
Okay, thank you.
This is the first time we've ever had money like this, is what I guess I'm trying to say, that had its own,
Yeah.
earned its own interest.
Commissioner Mason.
So Robbie, would audit tell you it's probably better to put it into a different account than what it is now, just so we can get it away from the ARP, to separate it, maybe put it in capital versus where it's at, or would it be cleaner? Well, I guess a better question. Would it be cleaner for your office to have it in capital?
We actually asked the auditors that, and they said it was fine keeping it in that fund as long as we wanted to, and then we can move it when we chose to. They recommended that possibly 171 would be a good option, just because of the nature of what the funds are normally used for, but they said we could keep the money there. And we are earning interest every month. I think it was 14,000 last month. So we are still earning, and if that money stays in there, then it's going to obviously accrue interest as well. Because even though we have all those funds appropriated and locked up, we haven't actually spent all of that money yet. So it is still accruing quite a bit.
Is there a end date for the interest accrual for that amount?
Whenever we take the money out. Once we take the money out of that account, which is a higher interest account than what the standard funds are sitting in, then it'll stop accruing and we'll stop counting it for that. So
What, I'm sorry to go down a rabbit hole, but what kind of account is it in? Which I'm sure you saw is down 20 more basis points this month.
We're actually having in finance committee meeting Monday. We are discussing a new investment opportunity, the Cash Fest.
CashFest.
Yes.
So they will be looking at this?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we still have 2.9 million unspent in the ARP fund, so that's why we're still earning the interest at the, and I say leave it in there till 2026, this money has to be spent, so that'd probably be a good time to take it out.
Okay.
Or move
Sounds
it
good to me.
possibly.
I was just, yeah.
I have a
Thank you, Mr.
feeling it'll
Chairman.
be committed before then to something else.
No.
Robbie, with the opioid funds being a similar,
They're in the main account. They're in the main bank account, which is earning interest, but we restrict those funds at year end. But yeah, they're earning interest. But it's general fund right now. We can, I mean, audit has suggested we put the opioid funds in their own fund, and that might be something we want to do because then they would earn their own interest as well. So that is a good point you just made. That we hadn't thought of. So.
any further questions on the ARP funding? All right, hearing none, moving on.
Okay, and then a grant listing. There's one new grant we added last month, the Brownfield Identification Grant. But just a list of grants for this fiscal year.
Any questions on the grant inventory? Hearing none, moving on to the consent agenda.
So 1 through 10 are transfers that don't require full commission approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions on those or pull any out, or if you want to take them as a group. I would like to say the second one is from my department, and just, it's a time and attendance software, which I think is long overdue for the county. I've had a lot of offices request that, and it's not, we're not including the sheriff, EMS, or highway because they already have that. It's for the rest of the employees. You would clock in through My Benefits channel, which would also encourage. We have an issue with communicating with employees. We sometimes have employees that have lots of emails sitting in that, I never got this email. Well, it's on their My Benefits. Everybody has a profile on My Benefits channel. Our employees don't check it a lot. So if they are clocking in on My Benefits channel, then they're going to check their email. It's a good way of increasing communication, but also bringing us up to date with a lot less paper that we are using. We do manual timesheets and worksheets currently. So, and this is just the cost for the rest of this fiscal year. We probably would look at implementing in March, possibly, for it's a trial and see how it goes. But I just wanted to make you all aware of that, and I would like your support in encouraging these and maybe making it mandatory for all offices to do it, and because I think it's something that could be good for the county, and it's compatible with our payroll system, so it would talk to each other as far as that goes too. So.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Allen moves to approve items 1 through 10 as a
Second.
group. Second by Commissioner Mays. Any discussion?
So, Robert, you're saying right now it would just be for administrative employees. Are any fee offices involved in this?
Yes, I've had a couple of the offices ask for it.
Okay.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
Okay, 11 through 14 are from the school department. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Dr. Parrott is here as well.
I'll make a motion to approve as a group, but I do have a question.
Commissioner Mays moves to approve items 11 through 14 as a group. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Vandegrift. Any discussion, Commissioner Mays?
Dr. Parrott, could you just broad stroke highlight what these district construction projects are?
They are part of the building at Anderson County High School, finishing up the concession stand with our change work orders and tearing out the interior and the outside of the school over at Claxton.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
I have a question also, Dr. Barrett, since you're here. On number 14, this supervisor position, operation of plant, and you're moving, what's going on here?
So what happened is when Clay McCamey left, we did not fill that position and don't
Okay.
intend to fill that position.
You don't intend to?
Nope.
Okay. And then, can you explain the employee child care fund? Is that a new thing?
So what happens is the employee child care that we have 2 of them, and the money we get into that, it doesn't fully fund that. So over the years, we have to put money in there to support that program.
Okay.
And so that's just part of
So
that.
it's not a new program?
No, it's not a
Okay,
new program.
Okay.
It's just putting money in there. It goes in, the reason it's going in is that's a separate fund. It's run by Head Start.
Okay.
And so they do the after school and the employee child care, so we put money into that.
So just going back to the position that you're not going to fill, are these going to be recurring costs that you're putting it into, or, I mean,
Hold on.
or
a
you're
minute.
just getting rid of what's in there for right now?
Yeah,
then
there's
that will
like the
be-
30, like the 30,000, hold on a minute.
For debt service.
Yeah.
We have put in the custodians where we've had to hire new custodians in and out. We just put it in there to shore that budget up. And then the operation, the plant and supplies, that's just a place, kind of a placeholder when we need it.
Okay.
And then the $37,295 is that, if you take that and you add the $462,705 that we got from our TISA outcomes money, that gives us $500,000 to put into fund balance, and that just shores up that fund balance for the school at Claxton.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
They're moving those funds to the debt service fund.
To debt services,
moving that
right?
to debt
Okay.
Dr. Parrott, I enjoyed the video, and I just got my call from Ron Sutton, so I appreciate that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
Okay, number 15 is from the Highway Department. It's $300,000 from restricted for highway for asphalt to asphalt the Anderson County road.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Vandegrift moves to approve item number 15. Do we have a second?
Second?
Second by Commissioner Smallridge. Any discussion?
One quick question.
Commissioner Palmer.
Is Gary, I guess, is not here. Are these roads that have been paved, or we're planning on paving? Okay.
I'm going to say roads we're planning on paving.
Okay. I can call him and ask.
I can try to get a list.
Okay.
I'll ask.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. That is really detailed on his justification.
For what?
I said it's really detailed, his justification.
I'll tell.
Thank you.
I'll mention that as well.
I'll text him too.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
Okay, number 16 is from Animal Control, from Mayor Frank. $10,000 for medical claims, from $2,500 from other contracted services, and $7,500 from restricted for public health and welfare.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Allen moves to approve item number 16. Do we have a second?
Second?
Second by Commissioner Smallridge. Any discussion? Commissioner Smallridge.
Yeah, I just want, the medical claims, is that quite a bit of that with local shelter or local animal?
Absolutely, yes. On occasion, we will use Dr. Butler, but the sheer majority is local veterinarians. So some of these are, there might be a medical issue or animal comes in injured, or it may be a spay-neuter. We are also starting a partnership with Sarge. They are starting to help us out with some of the spay-neuters. And then we're working with a citizen who is an IT professional and also a CPA, and we're looking at a shelter management system. Some of the stuff that we're looking at there, if we use some of the software, we may also get some other benefits included there, from discounts on pharmacy to some other benefits. So we're being faced with increase in costs there and increase in some of the spay-neuters. We're starting to explore some other options as well. Young Williams Spay-Neuter does have a low-cost spay-neuter option and program. They do partnerships with other counties, so Damon is doing some outreach with them to see if we might be able to do that. Planned Parenthood, we do use in Harriman for a lot of our low-cost spay-neuter, but they are, I don't know if they've got a lot of demand or what's going on, but we've not been able to take as many animals there, so that's where we're seeing a little bit of increase on our normal vet care. So,
Is mainly more animals or just more?
Yeah, yes, and we are looking at some revenue, so I'll be coming to operations in February with some adjustments to some of the fees and with the cities where we also do some work for them because they've not been adjusted since 2015, 2016. And then on this month's operations, we're looking at doing the microchipping. We had to get some new devices to be able to scan, where we scan animals that are at large, and we thought this might be an opportunity as part of getting those new devices to start offering the microchip for potential adopters. So we're going to have that fee authorization on the operations agenda, so it will cover cost and maybe just a little bit more and maybe be able to help some of this.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yep.
Mayor, one thing to add to this is Code 507 is the first time we've used that code in the animal control,
Yeah.
so we could keep up with those kind of costs more clearly. It's usually in 399. It's been combined with some other contracted services, so we have it's more transparent what the actual medical costs are for the animals. It's the first time this year. So.
There were some questions in the past that we weren't providing medical care, and because we did not have it broken out, it was just under other contracted services, and it really wasn't transparent. So this way, when folks look at an audit or they look at a budget book, they're going to know what it's actually coded as medical claims.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
Okay, 17 through 19 are from EMS. The first two are increases in revenue. One is $6,077 for staff development it's a Tennessee Risk Management prevention course, awarded grant from Tennessee Risk Management. The other is insurance recovery for $3,447.62, and then $50,000 into part-time code from the 309 contracts with government agencies for the kicker. And that is a transfer through payroll.
Motion to approve as a group.
Commissioner Mays moves to approve items number 17 through 19 as a group. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Palmer. Any discussion?
Question.
Commissioner Smalley.
Yeah, is this the this is a David Ramsey course from what your description here?
That was a previous transfer. I think that was addressed in the budget earlier, but that one that we passed earlier was a Dave Ramsey, the Smart Dollar. We started it last year, ran it for 1 year, and we want to bring it back. But that's not one of these three. These three are something different.
Is that something that's offered to other employees besides yours?
The Dave Ramsey Smart Dollar?
Yeah.
We have offered in the past for some in HR to take a look at it. Also, the mayor's office, if they wanted to take a look at it. Initially, there was some discussions of possibly taking it countywide, but that wasn't something that was managed by us. We have 95 seats in that program, so we can open up some to other departments if they would like to maybe have some people go through, see if it's something that others are interested in. I'd be more than happy to discuss that with them. And that doesn't affect the price. The price wouldn't go up if other people wanted to use one of those 95 seats.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Mason?
Just really quick on 19, I think it was 19. Do you have an idea of why the TennCare transports will be lower or down or dropping?
I wouldn't say I have an explanation per se. I don't know if there are people that are transitioning off of more traditional TennCare onto other government insurance platforms. But, we typically would run 81% would be Medicare, Medicaid. We're now down closer to about 75%, but the private insurance is up. Private insurance is the highest payers. We're 8% private insurance. Now we're closer to about 12%. So there's just kind of that flux, which is actually, in most contexts, is a positive. Medicare, Medicaid, while they do pay, they're some of the lower end of paying. So,
do you anticipate this having a negative impact on the budget revenues for next fiscal year, or do you think since the other side's up, you think it'll be?
No, I think
okay?
it's fine. It's balanced. It's even up a little bit because of private insurance does pay better. So it hasn't that negatively impacted us.
Gotcha.
It just affects that kicker.
Yeah.
So reminder for the kicker, what the kicker is, we pay into the state a certain amount to pull down federal funds, and then we get paid those. So we pay a small portion to get a larger portion. So we're paying in still, but the larger portion has decreased a little bit because we pay in on the total number of transports we do, but we only pull down on the Medicaid transports that we do. So that amount is lower, but we are still having a net positive by being in that program and being a part of that. So
thank you.
And our patient, I keep asking Nathan about that. Our patient charges are up like $900,000 from last December. So.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
And that's primarily because we raised rates. Our rates raised. Our transport volume is not significantly up. That is a direct correlation of our increase in private insurance payers and our increase in transport rates.
So I'm curious about your, bills that haven't been paid. And are we still using a collection agency
We are.
for those? And so kind of what is the recovery rate?
About 3%. We recover probably about 3% for those that we send to collections.
Mm-hmm.
We do not do hard collections, if you want to call it that. We don't have somebody with a New York accent calling people up and strong and arming them to paying it. But they do reach out and get in touch either by mail or by phone and try to recover that.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, if they don't pay, they don't pay. We don't take anybody to court. That's not a decision that my department or me as the department head would make. That would be a county commission decision. But currently, we don't take anyone to court to recover those funds.
So what percentage would be in arrears? What's typical for you? So they recover 3%, but what are we giving them? What percentage?
I think they're at a 35%. I have to look that back up, but it's probably about a 35% that the
So we're
collections
paying
company
them
get.
35%.
Yep.
Of what
They get 35% of whatever's collected.
Okay. And so typically, what do we run as far as, I guess, what's out there? What percentage of money is out there that hasn't been paid to us before we send it to collections?
It'd probably be best if I got accurate information, or at least an accurate ballpark to give that to you. More than glad to get it, and I can give
I'm
it
sure 100%
soon,
of the people are not paying on time. So
Yeah.
what percentage of people pay on time, I guess, is the better question.
Well, majority, because most of it is insurance, but those that are uninsured, we're we're running about 10%, 11% people that are uninsured that we transport. On average, I think we collect $50 per one of those transports, if you average it out. So some people
Okay.
pay and some people don't, right? So
Okay.
an average out is you don't collect very much off of uninsured.
So again, we had a transport and we have a deductible, so I had to pay
Correct.
a portion of that, and it was an emergency situation, so it was a little bit more.
Right.
So I guess that's my question, is like what's out there that people haven't paid, not the insurance portion. Does that make sense what
it
I'm
does.
asking?
Yeah, so a lot of it is well, and we've got our system through our billing company that I can look at all of that information. I can pull it up. I can get as granular as I want to, down to the individual person on day and everything, and look at all that. I can pull that back up because if I can tie it back source to payer. So if it's private insurance, but there's say 60% was paid by private insurance and 40% is unpaid, I can see how much of that has been paid.
Okay.
So I can get that information and pull it
Okay.
and send it to you.
Because I know that we're saying that that our receipts are up, but how much is still out there?
Yeah.
And we're
You're right.
saying that the increase is not because we're collecting more, it's because the rates have gone
Gone
up.
up.
We did go up on our fees.
Right. Our fees went up, so we are collecting more off of that. But
But
bad
not-
debt collections, we're
Gotcha.
Yeah.
we're not collecting more. And traditionally, we should not be collecting more, because if our billing company is doing a good job, we should really not be collecting any more than 4 or 5% on bad debt collections. And we're not. Historically, with the company we've been with since 2016, I don't think we've been any higher than 4%. We've hovered usually around 3%, sometimes even lower when bad debt. And we've
That's not
actually used,
recovered at all.
well,
is that what
only
you're
collecting
saying?
3% of what we send to collections.
Okay.
So even when we send it to collections, they're only collecting 3% of what we send them.
But are we sending them 50% of what we make or what we bill?
No.
So
No.
what percentage of what we bill
Yeah,
are
I'll
we
get
sending
that.
to them?
I'll
Is
get
it
that for you.
10%? Is it, you know?
I'll get the numbers for
Okay.
you. Not only what we have sent them, but maybe even what is still in collections, because we do have some that's even aged old, where people are just paying. We've got some people
Right.
paying $5 a month. So we don't have a set minimum on some of that too. Our ladies in our office, when they get to that point, they have conversations to find out. Anybody goes through a hardship claim, that all goes through the finance department. My department facilitates that, but the finance department makes the ultimate decision. So the EMS director can't write off any bills. That all goes through the county finance department. But I can get you the information of how much they have, and yeah, I can get that for you.
Okay.
And I would like to say I don't write those off very often. They can pay $1 or whatever. I usually do.
Yeah. We don't have
There
all
are
that.
some.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
But at some point, aren't we paying more in services, in actual overhead to collect $5?
Right.
I mean, it just seems kind of, you can't squeeze blood out of a turnip.
Exactly.
You know?
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Okay, number 20 is also a transfer through payroll from the law director's office, $5,646 from the assistant law director's code to two other payroll codes, 2340 and 3306.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Vandergrift moves to approve item number 20, seconded by Commissioner Smallridge. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no.
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 We'll go for a hand vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. Motion fails.
And Mr. Chairman, probably should have mentioned this during discussion, but I definitely would like for it to come back up during the budget discussion in terms of when we get to that point. But once they submit their annual budget, any kind of adjustments or pay increases or anything like that.
I know we shot that down pretty quickly, Director Brooks. Would you like to address the committee on that?
Is it time for discussions or just a vote?
I should have let you come up before we call for the vote. If you want to go ahead and come up and address it, at least we'll have that ringing in our ears.
Well, everyone knows this is an office that's in a state of flux. We don't know what's going to happen with the Private Act and therefore what's going to happen with staffing. But what did happen is, as Chairman Mays and I exchanged emails, we had Rachel Wallace there in the office. She was the assistant. And she did city taxes for Oak Ridge and Norris. She also was responsible for zoning and for research. Well, regardless of what happens with the Private Act, the city taxes was going away. That's something that's not within the purview of the Private Act or state law. Anyway, she was here a total of 1 week after I took office. So immediately, responsibilities she had were shifted to Nicole Brooks and Morgan Jones, and they've done a fine job. In addition to that, they've taken on pretty much all of the typing is not an adequate term, but document preparation, because that's the way I operate. I dictate. I don't do my own typing. So they've had to pick that up as well. We're gonna run, and there's going to be a hefty amount left over this year because we're not paying Rachel. We haven't paid her since the middle of September. What is reflected in the transfer request would be for an entire year, but we're halfway through the year, so we're looking at using about half of that. So I predict there will be a leftover in those two codes as well at the end of the year. I'm just trying to, I've always, when I was in private practice, when I was on the bench, I always wanted to attract and retain good folks. And that's what the impetus is behind that. I understand your positions, and I respect that. So that's just what I wanted to say.
Commissioner Allen.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I guess I was curious because when you had these numbers, how was that parsed out? How did you decide that the 2340
Okay,
and
those,
the 3306, how was that parsed out?
Commissioner, that would be based on 5%. 5% of the pay. It would be a 5% increase.
Okay. That's good.
Commissioner Mason.
A couple of questions. I appreciate you allowing the discussion, Mr. Chairman. To explain my no vote, it's not punitive on anyone, other than you kind of said it yourself, is that this office is in flux. And we really don't know where the dust is going to settle in terms of anything. Mm-hmm. And for me, I don't feel comfortable giving any kind of raise to anybody, for that matter. We just gave sizable retention payments. Just gave 7% raises. Hasn't been done ever in this county. And for me, the dictation part, that's my biggest hang up, Chancellor, to be honest with you, is that doesn't, to me, cry out for the need of giving somebody more money just because Jay may have handled it different and you dictate your notes or your pleadings and all that. That just seems to me that would have been a part of a job description of any, whether it be paralegal, law clerk, or anything like that. It seems pretty standard across the board. And I'm with you on wanting to retain good folks. Again, like I said in my email, I hate talking about this stuff in the open. Ms. Brooks has a nice salary. Morgan, I don't remember what hers is. You got two folks that are making more than a lot of department heads in the county. And for me, It's just not just this, but we have got, as a county, we have serious adjustments that need to be made across the board in this county, because before we can even start talking about equity and fairness and what's just, man, we've got to get some people. We don't need raises, we need adjustments for people, you know. And so, again, I hate voting no when it comes to people directly. And I'll probably contradict myself here in about 20 minutes for a different reason. But I just wanted you to know kind of where I was coming from. But I appreciate you doing it, and I always appreciate your, conversations, But that's kind of where I'm at. I feel like there's just a lot of dust that needs to be settled in this department before we can kind of figure out, because what if you see the need for an attorney and Jay got an attorney at a pretty cheap rate? Where are we at when you've given, 10% of that money to support staff? You're going to have to come back and ask us for more money to get an attorney. Just my thoughts. I mean, that's, again, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate it, and that's just kind of why I voted no.
Any further discussion? I'll throw this in there. I was not on the Legal Services Committee, but I attended a lot of their meetings, and if I recall correctly, a motion was made to increase Ms. Brooks' pay. I think it received a second and was getting ready to be voted on in the committee, and then I think they changed their mind and decided once the law director is appointed, we'll allow the law director to go through the process that every department head goes through when they come up for individual pay raises. Matter of fact, I've always looked at it this way. County Commission decides all county employees get an increase during budget season. In between those times, the department head is responsible for coming up and asking why they feel their employee needs a raise in the meantime. I think what we ask the law director's office to do, they did here today. Now, obviously, whether or not we agree with the reasoning they bring forth is up to each individual commissioner that's sitting up here. I like what Commissioner Mays has said before about sometimes we get into a habit of comparing apples to oranges. We don't always compare fairly, I think. I'm kind of biased. I feel that one of our corrections officer down there at the jail dealing with a life or death situation maybe should make more on the hour than someone who's in a clerical position. However, having said that, working with the law director's office a lot during the week, I also see the work and the effort that goes into reducing the cost that the taxpayers may have to pay at some point because of a lawsuit that has been filed against county government. I think the law director's office probably does more for every county department than we probably realize. If there is certainly an office that does deserve looking at a adjustment, then I think it would be the law director's office. We could certainly debate whether or not the current salary of Ms. Brooks is good or could be improved or whatever. Certainly the argument can be made all the county employees need to be making more for the services they provide to the county, but I would end the conversation on this. I do believe the law director's office is deserving of the money that they save the county every day. And as Commissioner Mays alluded to, we're going to be talking about another position here in a minute that I also believe helps and saves funding for the people of this county. So I would kind of put those comparisons, I guess, in the same category.
Mr. Chairman, if you just oblige 10 seconds.
Yes, go ahead.
I would just ask Robbie, can we get and you can just email it, a list of department heads and chief deputies for every office, of what their salary is and what over the last, we can go back, let's say 5-7 years, I don't care, and what their pay has looked like over a period of time. Okay, thank you.
I'd like to ask a question too. Is there any way we can get job descriptions for
If we have them,
those
yes.
positions as well?
I'm not even sure we have, what job descriptions we have we can get. yeah.
I guess for the clerk, the deputy clerk,
Sure.
is that what?
For all the deputy
and
clerks?
If we have it for department heads, that'd be great too.
Well, a lot of those are elected officials, so.
Right, so,
But yes. And HR would have those, and I can just check with them.
okay, thank you.
So, having said that and having had a conversation that would have been better to have had before the vote, does anyone on the prevailing side, well, was there a prevailing side?
It was a tie.
Ty.
Which made it, it was.
The negatives would be the prevailing side. Does anyone want to, on the prevailing side, want to make a motion to put that back on the table? Thank you, Chancellor. All right. Next item.
Section A, the Veterans Officer. This actually was a commission meeting referral, even though it's not in the minutes. It was discussed in commission. It was voted on actually in commission and did not pass. But the Veterans Committee voted to give their officer a 20% raise, $10,400 raise. And apparently it was passed in the consent agenda and never brought to Budget Committee. There is not funding in the budget code to give this raise. So it would need an amendment to go with it, which if the Budget Committee did approve this, then obviously an amendment would be, that would be approving an amendment as well. But anyway, it came back to this committee and
What was that dollar amount again?
$10,400. $10,000.
400?
Yes, and I think the new veterans officer was hired on, okay, Scott, tell me when you were hired. When were you hired? March 18, 2024.
So less than a year.
Yep.
Do we have a motion?
I'm going to make a motion to approve, but I have questions.
Motion by Commissioner Mays to approve item section A. Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Last call for a second. Motion fails for lack of a second.
I will forward my questions to Mr. Brooks.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, they're just,
You want to go ahead and?
no, I was just going to see if he had got back. I don't see anything in the 81 Act that requires us to make motion, appropriation roll call votes. I know it's in our rules, and I supported all of this because I think even with the procedure as it is, the commission dropped the ball, and that's not his fault or anybody else's fault. So I know at last commission we had talked about, were we just voting on minutes, and does the 81 Act explicitly state that an appropriation requires a board or roll call vote?
Okay. It's funny you bring that up. I have a draft of the opinion with me today. It's not quite finished. The 81 Act doesn't really speak to the roll call vote. That's in Chapter 5, I believe, that has to do with how county governments run. And it says anytime there is a vote to increase the pay of a county employee or benefits, a roll call vote recorded electronically or whatever must be made.
Okay.
All right. So that takes care of that. Now, I'm also of the opinion that when commission approved the minutes of the Veterans Services Committee.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was at the October 21st meeting.
That's correct.
You approved the action items that were in that
In those
report.
minutes. Yeah.
So I think where we're at is it's voidable, not void.
So it stands unless we rescind it.
Well, and that brings me to December in the budget portion of the commission meeting. There was a motion made to increase, I guess it was just to recover that, and it failed. So I'm not sure exactly where that puts commission, I guess.
I still feel like that we've, as a commission, that we have, again, it's voidable, but not void.
That's correct.
That we are still standing with an approved motion for a raise without a funding source.
I believe that's right. It isn't in compliance with the rules. I know the rules say shall be by roll call vote, and then the statute, as I was saying, says must. But unless it's a violation of Tennessee Open Meetings Act, I don't think it's void.
And so then my question to Robbie would be, this is, while there's clearly that money, that account would go in the red by year end, until this body can approve a funding source to add to that, I feel like, I just feel like that we voted to give him the raise and that we should be giving him that raise. The argument's not not whether or not he should have gotten it or not. We all know that, and how we got here is incredibly debatable. However, we are here, and I just don't. I agree with Mr. Brooks that, yeah, we may have.
Yeah, but you know something about, that's an audit finding, and who gets the audit finding? Me. So under the 81 law, no, it's not, that the board vote is not, the 81 law doesn't say a whole lot, but we did that under the 57 law. A lot of things didn't change, but commission has shown no interest in approving a budget amendment. And quite frankly, and this may sound kind of harsh, I don't think half the commission knew what they were voting on the consent agenda. It wasn't pointed out, and typically those things are removed from the consent.
I agree, and Mr. Chairman,
and it wasn't.
I don't want to get down this rabbit hole, but I agree with everything that you're saying.
I mean, it's the truth.
Well, but regardless, this body approved it, and full commission approved it. There's a lot of things that full commission approves that department heads don't like. And the fact is,
I've worked here for almost 40 years.
But the point is that unless this body decides to wise up and put a funding source with it, then while you get the audit finding, it's really on us.
But you don't get an audit finding, I do.
I agree.
I have the authority under the 81 law to make the decision. I'm not giving the raise till their money's in the budget code, and I'm standing by that.
Yeah, well, I mean,
It's my authority. I mean, I'm the finance director. I have a lot. I don't authorize my authority a lot, but I will on any raise. It needs to have a funding source. Well, we have how many payroll codes sit in the red right now in the election department that we have no funding source for? And we can't even get him to show up for a meeting.
Well, but we still let him do it.
Well,
and you don't stop it.
If somebody's done the work, Tyler, I can't stop it.
I agree, but I don't know how your authority under the 81 Act would supersede a commission vote.
Well, commission voted no twice now.
They didn't vote no. They voted no for a funding source to add to the code.
I don't think the Veterans Committee has the authority to give a raise to get commission to pass it. It should go to the Budget Committee from the Veterans Committee.
We can argue about I agree with you. I'm not saying how we got here is right. I'm not saying that. But the fact of the matter is we crapped the bed. Period.
We're pretty far deep down the rabbit hole now. Mayor Frank.
I was just going to suggest that we may want to take this issue to the Rules Committee because, I mean, there are different, so we have, for instance, the Board of Trustees. That board does have authority to implement actions on the behalf of the county. The Veterans Committee is an advisory committee only. That position is controlled by county commission, so you all have the authority there. Solid waste, same thing. We may have something on the solid waste advisory board minutes, or when the animal advisory board was in existence, there may have been recommendations on there, but ultimately those recommendations need procedurally to come to commission and get the authority behind them because they're an advisory board.
It did.
So,
It did. Whether we like how it got there or not.
It didn't come to the proper agenda on commission.
It does not matter.
It does to me.
well, I mean, I can use the fire commission as an example then. There have been tons of recommendation with large amounts of money that get approved under a consent agenda. But then when the appropriation comes time, for instance, the $50,000, I mean, that appeared first on a fire commission recommendation, but then it comes to the proper place, which is it goes to budget committee to get the funding, because without the funding, then it's only a recommendation. So, I mean, the procedure, I mean, this is, you get to, yes, you could say, okay, the finance director could put that funding, or could say, I'm going to authorize that to be in the check. But you're 100%, the mayor, the finance director, no one has control of the appropriations except county commission. So if you get to the end of the budget year and there is no, it actually has the potential for criminality if you exceed county commission's appropriation. So this is the whole salary suit, what that whole law is based on. And when a mayor can't sign a salary suit, it is, I can't sign an agreement that is above and beyond what county commission has appropriated in the major line item for the salary codes. And so for this particular issue, this is more critical. It's a major line item salary code. If the money is not there, then you are exceeding your authority. Whoever, Paul's writing the check, Robbie's writing the check, whoever's doing it is exceeding their authority. And it's a very serious audit issue. So,
Well, I agree, Mayor. I just think to that tune, how many departments before year end does money get moved around in this committee to ensure we're not in the red?
yeah.
It happens every
it's-
single May and June.
And I
Period.
have lived the occasion where it wasn't approved, and I am living testimony that there is an audit finding. And I did have someone come to me and say, Mayor, this is a potential criminal action. And luckily, I had some backup where the budget director at that time, Chris Phillips, had actually talked to audit. So, yes, I have lived that, because again, it goes back to commission controls the authority, and if it doesn't matter if it's a close vote, if the vote isn't there, then you've exceeded your authority.
So I would just say one more thing, Mr. Chairman, I'll shut up about it. Our law director, who you just talked about, and who we have a lot of faith and trust in, just told us that it is a voidable action, but it's not void. We have a standing approved motion to give this guy a raise. How we got there, yes, we can argue about it all the day, but we're here. We got down the slide, and here we are. This commission either needs to make a motion to avoid that action, or we need to just suck it up and put money to it. Those are our options. And I really just find it, I don't think it's fair to hide behind just voting no on putting a money deal behind it, because we still have a motion that's been approved for him to get money. We either rescind that motion or we give him the money. We can't hide behind, because eventually, you know, if I'm him, I'm out of here. I mean, you're going to vote for me to have money, but then you're just going to hide behind a no vote on appropriating him the money. Well, that's not fair to him, regardless of how we got here. So someone needs to make a motion to rescind this thing, or someone needs to make a motion. I know it's already failed, but we can make a motion to tie funding to it. But at the end of the day, we screwed up. I screwed up as chair. We're here, and we need to fix it. It's not going away. We can pretend that it's not, but it's not, unless we just think that our law director's not being honest or truthful about it.
Mayor Frank?
I think we probably, and Commissioner Mays, Chairman Mays, I completely respect your opinion. I think we ought to let Mr. Brooks look at the language, because again, it's an advisory committee, and maybe we accepted the recommendation, but then there's still a legal process. So maybe he needs to look at the language of the recommendation because again, that body does not possess the authority. They have the authority to issue a recommendation and recommend to full commission that has that authority. So maybe he could include as he's working through that final draft, looking at those, the authority of that body. And I know they have bylaws, but again, they're not an independent, it's not in the law that they are his supervisor. Only this body has the authority to hire and fire the Veteran Service Office, that particular position. So, I mean, that's a way of looking at it too.
My mind goes back to the Dave Bowling days and the famous quote, "County Commission can sell the courthouse with 9 votes." And Tyler kind of hit what I was thinking too, and I'm sure that the law director, I'll get to you. The law director, I think, would agree with Tyler. I would be interested to know what votes county commission makes that they cannot go back and rescind, if there is such a vote. Because I think to clean this up, where Tyler's going with this is to maybe start the process over again, but we still have to address the fact, I think what you're saying is, once we voted to approve the consent agenda with the minutes on there, you're saying we agreed to the pay raise, right?
That's what I thought.
And the finance director and the mayor's made some very good points of no, because if it doesn't have the funding source, then where do we get the money from?
But I think Mr. Brooks is saying that he's in line with what I think.
Okay, so
that was going to be my question, is to start the process over again.
Right.
Is it appropriate to make a motion to rescind the vote?
And who has that authority to make that motion to rescind the recommendation from?
It had to be full commission.
Let me give you some other examples
Okay.
of other counties. Let's talk about grant applications.
Okay.
So this happens. You vote at operations. Life is great in Anderson County, and I mean, I've talked to other mayors about this. You commit to a match for a grant and you apply. Once it comes time to you win the grant, and then the state of Tennessee issues the contract, and it's time to pay the money. Numerous times the county at that time says, Campbell County has done this on a big grant. The county says no. Now, you have a motion, you have a vote, you agreed via resolution to do a match, but ultimately at the end of the day, county commission is within its authority to say we're not going to approve that contract. Financial situation has changed. We don't have $1 million to match. I mean, I think that's happened in the city sometimes. It happens with nonprofits. And so, again, that's just another example of you may approve something, but once it comes time to write the check, there's still a process for the check, and the authority belongs to you.
It happened here with the tourism building.
Yeah.
I mean, Chamber of Commerce and Tourism.
Mr. Nation, go ahead, sir.
Really and truly, I didn't know I was going to be kind of the center of attention unintentionally. Sorry, ma'am. But truthfully, regardless what goes on, I'm here to support the veterans of Anderson County, period, and any veteran I can help, whether in the office, at home visits, or anything else. So just information for y'all to know is, since March 18th to December the 31st, the office has brought in over $6.8 million to the county. Right now, I'm on track to bring in $7.4 million for 2025. So regardless what y'all decide, pay raises will come. When I applied for the job, it wasn't all about the money. I do draw a great retirement check from the Army. So I will continue to support the veterans of Anderson County. So being butthurt or whatever you want to call it, if I'm not allowed to say that, let me know. I'm not going to be butthurt. I'm still going to bend over backwards to help the veterans of this county. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Mr.
you for
Chairman.
what you do.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Palmer.
Would it be appropriate for us to make that motion to rescind that offer here in budget, or does that need to be made at full commission?
I think we could make a recommendation to,
Can we?
To full
Or should
commission.
it be a recommendation?
I think it could be a recommendation
Okay.
to commission, but I believe the commission would have to be the one to take the action.
All right. I will make a motion to recommend that full commission rescinds this offer to clean things up.
I'll second that. Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Commissioner Palmer moves to recommend to full commission to rescind the previous motion for the pay increase. Is that right? Did I word that correctly?
Yes.
Randy, can you interpret that? Okay. Do it a second by,
That's fine.
I'll take it.
And
Commission-
will that help with all the legal and the? And would that correct this? Would this kind of solve this issue?
If commission ultimately goes back and rescinds, amends to pull this out of the report and then, let it stand by itself, then you can start over again. And I think what my research tells me is that would be a better way to handle it, because then it is an increase in the budget of the Veterans Office, so it does need to go through the Budget Committee. I think they have that authority. Then it comes up to commission, and at that point would be voted on, if that helps. I think that's and that is a much cleaner way to get to where you want to be, and eliminates any risk, maybe not the right term. One concern I pondered in my mind was whether or not there could be what I'll call a TOMA argument, that it didn't comply with the Tennessee Open Meetings Act because of the way it came through, and there was no discussion.
Right.
You wouldn't really know that it was part of that report unless you read it, and I know it was attached to the agenda that was published. But I get paid to worry about stuff, and that was a concern I had as well.
everybody knows what the motion is? Any discussion? Hearing
Good
none?
with that? Is that good? Yeah. Okay.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no.
no.
One no.
All in favor, raise your right hand, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Motion carries.
And just for some clarity, for me, this was the right thing to do to start the process over. It's not that I'm against veterans. I don't like veterans just on Veterans Day. I I love our veterans. I really do. I go to the veterans breakfast. I go to the Wreaths Across America. I support that. I try to support our veterans. My dad was a veteran, so I just. It's not that I don't like veterans and I don't want to support them, and it's not that I don't totally respect the job that Director Nation's doing, and he's very well respected by the community of veterans, and I want to keep him, and I want to do the right thing. But to do the right thing, we needed to clean this mess up. So the vote is not against the raise. The vote is let's do the right thing to clean the mess up, and then come back to what's appropriate as far as the rates goes, if that makes sense.
And I agree. I'd be happy to give the raise if the money's in. That's not my point at all.
Commissioner Smollett.
Yeah, Robbie, I'd like to know the starting salary that our Veterans Officer started at, any increases that have taken place since he began, and maybe that's already been provided, I can't remember. Then I'd also like to know in comparable positions, maybe in some surrounding counties, how that would compare. I'd like to get that before.
I could get that to you if we're working tomorrow too. Snow.
Also, Commissioner Smollett, are you chairman of the Rules Committee?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to ask the Rules Committee to look and see the continued need of a consent agenda.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yes, thank you.
I think maybe a lot of this could have been.
I think you've already counted like 6 votes.
Yeah. I think a lot of this maybe could have been clearer if the consent. And I understand there's a lot of content that poor old Annette has to compile together to send out for an agenda, and I know we all are busy and we all have jobs and everything, but if this would have been on the regular agenda and still got past us, then I don't think we'd have been having this discussion right now. But I agree with the comments that have been made here today. I just think that maybe not having a consent agenda would have solved this.
And
I'd like to ask the Rules Committee to look that up, please.
Commissioner Bell, one thing I could say too, any motions that come from these committees, like the Veterans or Parks or these HR Advisory, when we had that one, or IT Committee, if it's a motion like that, it can be brought to my attention to put it on the budget agenda. That should be an automatic.
Sure.
Automatically after the meeting, the chairman should do that, in my opinion.
My thought has always been, and Mayor Frank, disagree with me if you'd like, my thought's always been every motion that gets made from every smaller committee should probably be funneled either through operations or budget. Yeah. That's just my 2 cents on that.
And even, like, as an example, even on, for the VSO, when we increased the salary of the staff member and increased the number of hours, they had a meeting. They didn't have a quorum, but they did have a recommendation. But it was forwarded to me, and Mayor, would you, who's taking, and so I took care of it, got with Robbie, did the budget amendment, all of that. So, I do think it's a duty of the committees to identify what are action items that need to go through the appropriate process.
Amen.
And just really quick, Mr. Chairman, again, I appreciate you allowing me to discuss, and in no way am I ever I don't challenge them and what, we just have a difference of opinion of kind of what it looks like right now. But I do think that this, not for discussion today, but just food for thought, is when we made IT and HR under the mayor's purview, we also were, within an inch of the veteran services, and it was just a matter of I'm not really sure what happened, but I know that we were pretty much there. That might be something that, for operations purposes, it kind of gets looked at again, because it just makes sense that would have been an administrative job under the mayor's office. So, thank you.
Next item on the agenda.
Okay, the election administrator, Mark Stevens, he emailed me today at 12. stating his schedule. He had a scheduling conflict and he would be here in February, so.
Is he complying?
No.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion of no confidence.
I mean, I've received no budget amendments to correct any of the codes, nor did I receive timesheets.
I'd like to make a motion of a vote of no confidence in our election administrator to comply in any shape, form, or fashion with our finance department. It just seems, that his response to Robbie in the letter dated back, I guess, before the holidays was just simply to keep his commission at bay. That's my own conjecture, but I would like to. I mean, we have literally visited this numerous times. We took money from him because he took 2 years on a project that he was allocated $100,000 for. Didn't do it. It's not like these elections were snuck up on him. I mean, they're planned. And I mean,
he did comply with the part-time. He has ceased his part-time employment. So that's the one of the.
I'll
4.
second that.
Motion on the floor by Commissioner Mays is to,
it's really just
No confidence.
a vote of no.
the vote of no confidence.
Yeah, that he will comply with the directives of the finance department.
And I do have a question. I thought that we had mentioned in the last budget meeting that we were also going to ask the election commission to come in
And I
also.
did. I sent her a separate email, and he did include her in the scheduling conflict as well today.
Okay.
That she couldn't come as well, but she would be here in February.
Okay. So that community is well aware.
I think I will invite all the election commissioners
Okay.
for February just to see if we
Okay.
could.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
And that is to send to full commission.
Full commission for their approval.
So everybody knows what we're voting on? A vote of no confidence.
One of our
Yes.
commissioners has a question.
Yeah.
Did you have something?
No,
Commissioner?
No, I just wanted, so we're sending this to
To
full
full
commission?
commission.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
And
Yes, Commissioner Capshaw.
How long have we been, I'm new.
Sorry, can you,
I just had a quick, how long have we been asking them to come to before your committee?
The letter was
How long has
sent
it been since I'm new,
last
just to
month or
get
month before
clarity?
Well, this is a separate incident. This,
But we have asked before too.
yeah.
This is the second time we've asked.
The second time?
Yes.
Okay, and so no one from there,
The election
That
commission
office-
hasn't come yet. Mark did come
Nobody.
the
And I would
first
say too, just in response, was the letter, the times that he's basically ignored the finance department with requests, with emails, just a continuation. It's a pattern of not being
Okay.
compliant with them. And then, and we've also had other issues that we've been brought forward here. But
He's not just not compliant with the finance office, it's with his budget. I mean, he's outside his budget numbers, especially almost every payroll code, so.
okay.
And it's the same every year, it's not just this year, especially with part-time. We have an issue with a lot of part-time budget amendments. This year he took money from his deputy's code to move to part-time, now his deputy's code's short too. They're both short, so. It's just, and he doesn't, I mean, we've offered help, hasn't been over to get any.
Okay. Thank you all for giving me that background information.
Commissioner Smallridge.
Yeah, I just want to be sure, Robbie, it seems like I remember you said last time we met, I don't know if it was budget or the full commission, that you felt like he was complying or going to comply, maybe that am I correct on that?
Not until the commission passed, last commission meeting when you all passed the 4 motions, I immediately went downstairs and emailed him the 4 motions that were passed. He has been compliant with the part-time money. The part-time employees, they haven't worked since then. And, but we requested timesheets. We haven't received any of those yet, and him to come to this meeting along with an election commissioner or the election chair, commission chair, which hasn't come yet either. And
And we didn't approve any budget transfers.
there hasn't been any to approve.
He hasn't submitted any.
Not any since then. No.
And I think that was part of
That was part of the motion too, to submit budget amendments to get your payroll codes in, compliance. So he's not. And I will say this too, he did request some more funds in some of his budget codes, and I emailed him twice telling him he needed to go to the budget committee during budget season because it was a no increase budget, and he never replied back to any of those emails, nor did he come. So I took him down to I took it to the no increase, so, which is everybody has the option to come in before budget committee. We have budget hearings, and you all know we do it all the time. But he wasn't interested in that, so I don't make those decisions. You guys do. As far as budget request or what I mean. So, but yes, he hasn't. No, not some, but not. I'd say about 50-50 compliant with what's going on.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
Okay, and last, I added this to the budget agenda just in case we had time. Usually I sometimes wait till February, but I went ahead and put the budget calendar on the in the agenda. And the budget calendar is always very tentative. We can change any dates. I didn't even add an extra date for budget hearings because last year when we had budget hearings, we didn't even have a quorum, so we did it in April, which I think is fine. And I think the calendar is fine. I did add the only extra date on the calendar is in June. We always add an extra commission meeting in case it's needed to approve the budget. So I put that on there. The budget guidelines are something that you all need to think about, what you want to see in a budget process this year. As far as last year, most of the budget guidelines are pretty the same. It's the forms explaining the budget process to the departments. Number two, the guidelines are what this body what you all want to see in a budget for this year. As far as, do you want to know increased budget? Do you want to ask people to cut a budget? Things like that. So I'm just introducing next year's budget, get a little bit of a head start.
Robbie, do you need that to be approved?
It doesn't have to be approved today. It's something y'all can think about. I will put it on the agenda next month.
Okay.
Probably with some forms for approval next month because we do need to get budgets to each department next month. But this calendar won't change any from this month to next.
Football season is ending. Basketball season's in its prime. Baseball season's around the corner. It must be budget season.
So, Robbie, if we change or take any of the suggestions for the guidelines, does that need to go through the approval process?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. That's why I
But
said
this is
what was last year's budget
Okay.
guidelines, basically.
Okay.
Yes, I changed some dates for the current budget season, 25-26, obviously, but that's all I changed from last year.
Yeah, I'd like to look at this
Yeah,
before we
I
vote
thought
on
you
it.
all would. So
Okay,
I'm good with that too.
thank you.
Any questions on the calendar? All right, next item is new business. We have any new business come before the committee? Hearing none, next item is unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business come before the committee? Do we have any business at all to come before the committee? Hearing none, without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you.